Welcome to Business Over Beer, where entrepreneurs, small business owners, and people passionate about what they do bring us their stories and their favorite beer. Hosted by Ben Surratt, Jonathan Kaler, and Jason Knope, it's time to get down to business and drink some beer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second biggest podcast in the Pacific Northwest. Folks, we are still on the heels of those pesky Sasquatch hunters. I don't know what to tell you, but I do know what to say. This episode right here will take us to the apex. And we will reign supreme in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, this is Business Over Beer. I'm your co-host, Ben Surratt. Across the screen from me is the man of the hour, the terror of power. Some people call him the sapsy cowboy. Some people call him Man Bun. Some people call him the monster of Moorbach. But we refer to him as Spartacus. Mr. Jonathan Kaler, happy Friday. I am so excited for this episode.
Happy Friday, Benjamin. I am Spartacus. I have led you here to the apex. We are going to reign supreme. There is no doubt in my mind. Not happy we're back on Zoom. I've said that before, but I am happy why we're on Zoom, because we have got such an awesome guest tonight. This is going to be a fantastic episode. Sasquatch hunters, watch your back.
Boom.
And speaking of watching your back, down catty corner from me, as always on the Zoom, is the gift that keeps on giving. He is the gangsta of Hazeldale. Ben and Lou, are you guys down with the KNOPP?
Yeah, you know me.
Jason Knope, welcome back to Business Over Beer, my friend. How you feeling tonight, my man?
I'm feeling pretty good, but I'm trying to figure out, did you say watch your back or wash your back? I'm not quite sure. Quite hear you.
Hey, man, take it however it comes,
you're
brother.
Taking a dig at me or something.
No, I would never do that.
All right. I'm doing fantastic. Weather's great here in the Northwest again. And like you said, we got a fantastic guest. We've got Lou Alexander. He's with a Big A88 Jogger and Authentic Impact. How you doing tonight, Lou?
Man, first off, what a intro. I can't beat that. I cannot beat that at all.
Well, thank you, everybody. Good night.
You got the Sasquatch here. You got all these gangsters. I mean, man, listen, I'm right at home. So first off, humbled and honored, truthfully. Thank you guys for having me on this, man. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to get locked into this episode. So again, thank you guys. Really appreciate it.
I mean, and the nicknaming committee, Lou, just so you know, we did convene this week, and we tried to come up with a nickname for you that would be fitting to your prowess and your stature as a guest on the Business Over Beer podcast. We couldn't come up with anything better than Big A88 Jogger. So we're just going to stick with Big A88 Jogger because it is awesome. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. No, thank you. Big A88 Jogger, be your biggest self at whatever you do. I'll take the title for sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Dude, well, hey, in all seriousness, thank you for joining us on the podcast. It is a Friday night. The weather is beautiful, and we're so appreciative that you took the time. We always like to kind of start with your business. So you've got a lot of stuff going on. We know that, you're a sales manager in the corporate world. You've got an apparel line. You've got a speaking business. Maybe just try to distill all that down for us. Give us sort of the 50,000 foot view of kind of what you're into and the different businesses that you got going on.
Man, absolutely. So I think from the 50,000 foot overview, I'm going to start with Authentic Impact because everything else aligns with that. So my wife and I actually, she is the one that inspired me to start a speaking business. A lot of my friends, they always came to me and they said, hey, dude, you speak very, very well. You impact us a lot. there's something there to impact others in this world. And for me, I'll tell you right now, I ignored it for a long time. But I started Authentic Impact about a year and a half ago, and it's pushing people to be their authentic selves, to reach their fullest potential while being authentic. And what I always tell individuals on a daily basis is authenticity, it gives you a certain speech about yourself, it gives you a certain presence, while impact, it allows you to really align yourself with people to help drive them towards what their potential is. And I was able to really articulate that and being able to impact people through many different facets of my life, right? Authenticity is what got me here today. It's what got me about all these 50,000 foot overviews of all these different business ventures that I have. It's authenticity. And that aligned me and parlayed into me stepping into the fitness industry and stepping into an apparel line. I created an apparel line, obviously still by my 100-pound weight loss. I was 340 pounds coming out of college and coming out of the NFL. And yeah,
Whoa.
I was 340 pounds, man. And I wanted to be inspired by something outside of athletics. And I found jogging. Jogging was truthfully something I wanted to be inspired by. And I found the like, and I started to see pounds come off. And all of a sudden I said, wow, this can be a movement. This can be something that can move people in the right direction, because it's something that you do yourself. It's only you versus you. And my motto is be your biggest self at whatever you do. And that's where Big A88 Joggers came about. And with that, it's just helped me be a better leader as well, right? We have a run club here in Los Angeles, but also too, along that line, we create a network area where people can come in and really just network with other individuals that are like-minded. And then on top of that, I am a sales leader as well. So I work in the tech industry, actually a director of sales, and we can get into a lot of that as this conversation goes along. But I'm a director of sales, and I have 8 years of sales experience, and I've been able to work my way through to being a sales director by being authentic and by making an impact on people. So all this kind of is one bow and package that just brings up who Lou Alexander is, and I'm excited to talk about it.
That is
awesome.
fantastic, man. I love all of that. As a pseudo aspiring speaker myself, I love hearing about stories of other speakers and people who want to step out and tell their story. I can't wait to get into all of the different aspects of who you are and your story and your business. But Lou, this is the Business Over Beer podcast. This is the beer portion of the program. We ask all of our guests to bring a beer to share. Lou, have you brought a beer to share? Tell us about what you brought.
So this is going to be a little bit unconventional. And it's funny because it's going to be actually a different color than what a normal beer is, but it's a hard cider. It's called a Golden State Cider. Check this out.
Whoa.
Oh, look at that.
Jamaica flavor, hibiscus, and it's like an apple flavor. That's what it obviously from cider, but it's from Sonoma County, where a lot of our apples come from on a daily basis. So they come down from California, Sonoma County. My wife actually introduced me to this cider about 2 weeks ago. And so I brought this for the podcast. So shout out to my wife if she's watching.
All right. Well, as you may or may not know, of course, anytime we have a guest that's not in our geography, when we can't be together, we always try to bring a beer ourselves as an homage to what you brought, right?
Absolutely.
We try to connect it to somehow to what you have brought. So, Lou, here is what we have brought for the show.
Oh, we found him, baby. Yeah. Can we do a virtual cheers real quick?
Yes, sir.
Cheers, baby. Right. I love it. Now we're really on brand. I love this. This is awesome. This is awesome.
We too have found the Golden State Jamaica cider. So
this is awesome.
Excited to share this with you, my friend.
There we go.
You know, it was kind of weird, Lou. Washington has apples too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, do that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we're pretty much, I think the apple capital, are we not in Washington?
And you can also find Jamaica in Washington? Wow, you guys are listening.
No. Woo. All right. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Prost.
Thanks again for being here, my man.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It is super refreshing.
Yeah.
It's super tart. I mean,
It
it's
is tart.
really tart.
Tart, very tart.
It just
Very
kind of keeps on coming, but it is refreshing. It's light, it's crisp. It's just what you want from a cider. Where we found this, Ben and I had a beer earlier, so actually it's kind of a nice relief. We had a heavy, hazy IPA, which was super bitter, big mouthfeel. So this is actually kind of a nice relief from that. It's kind of clearing the palate.
Yeah, not overly sweet.
Well,
which is what I like. I like
it's not overly. Yeah, you're right, Canoper. Like I'm not a cider person, Lou.
Okay.
But, and the only reason why is because it gets, like Canoper was saying, it's very sweet, and I just
Sweet,
and that can get like really just. I can get a little overly sweet. Like you have too much candy. This is the tart.
What do you say?
This?
You call it like the milk. You get the
milk
mouth.
The milk spit. You know what I'm saying? Where you had that.
He's checking his temperature on his neck, making sure.
My gills.
Well, yeah. Listen, honestly, for me, this is very, very tart. But I'm not a sweets person, so I think my wife knew exactly what to grab. Because I am not an overly sweet drinker. Like I don't drink juices, I drink water, so I don't drink a lot of sweet things. So this is perfect for me personally. But absolutely, I love it. I think we're good.
Yeah, if I'm gonna drink a cider, I'd rather have something tart than sweet for sure.
I agree.
And we were at so I gotta tell a story about how we found this cider, by the way, Lou.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So. And in all seriousness, we were going to look for a cider or something to match because we were like, no way. There's no way we're going to find this. This is kind of a.
We talked about because it's Golden State. Well, maybe we could find a golden ale.
And I looked for it online, and it said the closest place was where, Canope?
Reno, Nevada. Straight up.
Wow.
So we were at our friends at Ben's Bottle Shop. We met to do the exchange, and we were in the cider section. We were looking we were like, dude, this is going to be difficult. We're going to have a tough time looking. And I look down, and sure shit, Lou, right there staring at us was this. And it was like there was another flavor, but this was the only one, like one of the two that had of Golden State cider.
I don't know what to say, but I think this was meant to happen. I think this was meant to happen.
Oh, dude! We said it.
I think it was destiny. I think the universe wanted you guys to drink a Jamaica cider today. That's how I feel right now. So personally, I'm gonna thank you guys and thank me for this one. This is perfect.
So Lou, I want to start with before everything else. I want to go back.
Yeah.
So, growing up, you were inner city, right?
Yes, sir.
How does a kid in the inner city end up in Syracuse? What was that journey like?
My goodness. So first off, I'll start with just telling the story of that journey, right? And what that looked like. I was a very, very shy, timid kid growing up, man. And when I say shy and timid, I mean my mom would have to force me to speak to people. And she would always laugh now because growing up, I grew one of 9 siblings. So I had 9 siblings in the household. My dad had 6 kids of his own, and then my mom, she had 3. And then I was the youngest out of 9 siblings. And these weren't normal kids, right? All of my brothers, 5 brothers that I do have are my size, 6'4", big dudes, right? So my mom had to feed a village. So growing up, being a shy, timid kid around all these guys that are A-type personality, right? Like they are A-type, they know what they want, they're very driven, they're very outspoken. And I was forced to survive in that condition because my brothers and my mother, they forced me to do that. But growing up in Compton, California, you have to learn how to at least get a little bit thick skin, right? Because if you don't, you're now taken advantage of, right? Now you are the person, if you don't speak up and you don't have communication or the art or the form to even say what you want, you're just gonna get what's delivered to you. And for me personally, I never wanted to just accept, and I knew it was something else there for me. I just didn't know how to voice that, right? And as I grew up, I didn't like football. Football came to me last.
What?
I did not. I actually started off as a baseball player growing up. My two brothers, they were very, very great athletes. Like, I mean, exceptional athletes. One of my brothers played basketball, set records, All-American. He did it all. Got every girl that he ever wanted, right? He was the prototypical athlete that you would want to look at, right? He was just like the holy grail. If you want to get to his status, you were there. Then I had another brother that was a really good football player. So me, I'm telling myself as a young kid, if I have to follow that, I don't want to play sports, because that's a huge, tall order to follow. And we wear our name with pride in my family. You know, the Alexander name, it rings bells in our community. So I had to make sure I was setting myself up for success. But not until I turned 15 is when I actually picked up a football. And I started to play the game of football. And I sucked terribly. I was terrible. I got knocked on my butt every single play. I went to every single practice. The coach sent me home and I come back. I went to every single practice, coach sent me home and I come back. And that was my first year. And it's funny because I got a funny baseball story, and I'll take a step back here, is when I played baseball, and the reason why I got on the football field at 15 is because they used to call me the tank in baseball, because my momentum was so fast, I couldn't stop when I actually curved bases. So I would knock down every single player on the base. Promise you, there's film out there that I have to send you guys to show you this. And
yes, please do.
I can't wait. I can't wait. And my coach literally came and he said, hey, man, this is not the sport for you. You need to come out to football and we're going to teach you the technicalities of it. And so for me, when I went out and played football again that first year, I get sent back home. I wasn't good enough because I couldn't complete condition tests. And I suffered from childhood obesity. So I was huge as a child. And obviously, you living in the inner cities, resources are not available to me, right? And my mom, all she could feed 9 kids was things that were high in starch, high in fat, right? Things that can fulfill us that she can afford. Sure. And my second year of playing football is when it absolutely clicked for me. And I tell people where I am right now, how I made it to Syracuse is I started to get comfortable, and I conditioned myself of being comfortable in uncertain circumstances. And so I had to figure out a way to adjust and be comfortable in things that was uncertain to me, because I didn't know what the next day looked like ever, right? I talk about authenticity, I talk about impact, but my life was never certain. It was either you're going to make it or somebody is going to make it for you. And that was my life. And with that being said, you know, I lost my father at 5 years old to gun violence in the inner city. And when I lost my father to gun violence in the inner city, just imagine you fast forward 10 years, you're 15 or 16. You're not like all the other kids that have a father to go to say, hey, Dad, can you teach me? Can you actually show me the way? Like, what is it that I actually have to do the work on? What can I do in preparation? I didn't have that. So my entire life, again, was uncertain. But one thing that I had, man, and my mom, and I tell her this all the time, she had a certain God-sent ability or shine in her that pushed us in the right direction. We never got into trouble. We never were bad. We were obedient kids. We didn't disobey anyone, right? We were respectful. And my mom, she always told us, whatever you start, you finish, right? I don't care if you take a small break, you're going to go back and complete the task. And by me taking her mentorship, her motivation, her encouragement, that's what led me to get to Syracuse. And it was easy, because that second year when I got football under me, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is it. No one can stop me, because I am literally head first going into this with all I can, and I'm never going to quit. And there was coaches along the way that helped cultivate that. And that's how I ended up getting to Syracuse and getting that scholarship to play fully for right. Now I'm here to tell that story. So.
Was it difficult to transition from high school to college, or was your drive was your drive good enough to transition into college?
That's a good question. Drive only gets you so far. And what I mean by that is I didn't realize and I didn't take it serious, the mechanics that went into going into the next level. I always use this analogy, right? It's like a springboard. I didn't understand what was under the springboard to make me launch into college, right? I didn't understand that. All I understood was it was a launch pad, right? But no one gave me a disclaimer and say, hey, if you jump, you may end up getting hurt. And I didn't look at the manual before. I didn't. So when I jumped, I got hit in the mouth. I got hurt. My first year was the worst year, right? My freshman year, I thought I didn't belong, right? Because I didn't take the finite details personal. I didn't take that as I didn't want to be great at that time. All I wanted to do was say, hey, look at me. I'm the only one to make it to college in my family. I've made it. And I was okay. I was okay with just making it until a coach said, dude, we don't want guys here just to wear a jersey. We want guys here to actually play and make an impact. So what are you going to decide? And that's for me where the transition got easier, is when I started to take the details serious. And that's when that transition happened. But it was a tough road, man. It was a tough transition because I didn't understand it at all.
Did you take any time off between high school and going to Syracuse? Because you'd went to a JC between that time, right? Was there a football team there as well, or?
Okay. Yeah, yep, absolutely. Yeah. So I took a year off from high school to junior college. And junior college, to be honest, and this is no knock on junior college football, but for me, it was easy.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was 4-star recruit. I can get over on anyone with just God-given ability. There was no technicalities that had to go into it. I went to junior college because it was a pit stop for me to develop. And truthfully, did I develop? Probably, but it was really just for me I graduated high school at 17 years old. So I had to make a pit stop somewhere so I can get to college at 18 and not really be behind the 8 ball when I got to college. Because, obviously the school systems here in California, the cutoff date was like September or something like that. So I have a birthday in November. So I was young going into my career at Syracuse. So my mom was like, hey, go to junior college for a year, use it as a time to prep. And then let's see how you evolve going to Syracuse. But out of junior college, I had 26 offers out of junior college to go to Division I colleges. Yeah, I had 26 offers. And I picked Syracuse because I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. That was my love. That was my love initially, until I figured out you had to run and get coffees for everyone every morning. So
I can't, Lou. Hey, everybody, welcome to ESPN. I can't.
Man, this 6'4".
I gotta go get coffee.
Right, I gotta go get coffee. Stay here. It's a break. I gotta go get some coffee. Do you want cream or sugar? So I did not want to do that. That's not what I signed up for. That's not what I went to school for. So I was like, no way, no how. But Syracuse was the best thing that ever happened to me, man. It introduced me to my wife, which I've been with now for 10 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. Thank you, really. And it also gave me a degree. I was the first one in my family to stop the curse. I created a new cycle, right? I set a new standard, and that to me was that was the most important thing outside of playing football, outside of doing anything, the accolades, the jerseys, the rings, the helmets, everything that you see behind me. It was more important than that. I was able to show my nieces, my nephews, that if you commit yourself to something, you can get a degree out of the environment that you come from. And for me, man, it paid off. It paid off.
Did you have any inkling at the time that you were developing this skill set, that you were developing this ability to find comfort in uncertainty?
To me, that was life at the time, right? So all I knew was that. I didn't know anything else. And that's just like someone being placed with a millionaire in their family. All they know is the finer things in life. They know filet mignon, they know Rolex watches, they know nice cars, they know all those nice things. All I knew was the inner city, and I knew the struggle, right? The difference that I think what happened for me at a young age, and that was very, very pivotal, is I had a solid foundation and I was driven early. My mom would even tell you this. I was driven early to think by myself, right? I always tell people today, and this is what happened back when I was growing up, I always drove my truth. I never gave anyone license to drive my truth, right? Because sometimes we get so wrapped up into the city where I give a gang member the opportunity to guide me, and he now serves as a mentor for me. I give someone that may sell drugs serve as a mentor for me. But for me, I always wanted to have the license to drive my own truth. And that's why I speak about authentic impact, because I put all the different experiences, all the different hardships into one to create a recipe that I can deliver that is authentic. And at the time, all those hardships were just normal. So to be honest with you, it was more so as if I was naive to what was going on around me. And the only thing that I do remember is reflecting back to when my father did pass away and getting a knock on the door and my mom running to the door, and I see a police officer. And I see the police officer deliver the news, and I see my mom run one way, and I see the police officer come into the house to make sure we were okay, right? During that time, I reflect back to those moments now as a child. I mean, as an adult. And when I draw from those experiences, it gives me a certain level of drive, and it gives me a certain level of awareness now that life is so much more complicated than what it is today, than what I've actually been able to acquire. So for me, I'm just happy to be here speaking and talking to anyone, right? And that's what it is for me is I've grown, I'm truly at this space where I know what it is to define happiness. And I think that was a development of hardship. To answer your question, that was a development of hardship that I didn't even realize I was building until, like you mentioned, you take a step back and you say, wow, this is not normal. This is not what other kids go through. This is not what other people go through. But it gave me a one-up because now I see both ends of the spectrum. I'm able to say, wow, I appreciate that time. As hard as that was, I appreciate it because it makes me authentic, it makes me real, and it makes me impactful. That's it.
That's
Man.
awesome. That is awesome. And what an example, what a role model for others who go through those same challenges, who go through those same hardships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To be able to show the way and say, there is a path. There is a path to success.
Exactly. 100%, man. 100%. Because the path, sometimes we want to be carbon copies of everyone, right? We want to be a copy of everyone, and we want to look at all these different things that are going on outside of us. But truthfully, in any situation that we're in, like you mentioned, there is a path, no matter the circumstance. And it lives within us. It really, truly do. And as cheesy as that sounds, it truly lives within us. And that's why I love to share the story. And I'm so passionate about it when I speak about it, because we all have it. We all have it. We just decide to ignore it, or we decide to cultivate it. And I ask people, and I ask people this all the time, right? Are you motivated, or are you looking to be cultivated? Because motivation, you're okay with the skill sets that you have. You're okay with being where you are. You just want to be better in the environment that you are. But cultivate means I want to acquire new qualities. I want to acquire new habits, right? So now when I'm acquiring those new habits, there is something different outside of my motivation. I want you to cultivate me. I want you to help me grow, right? And I'm reaching out to individuals saying, help me grow. What is it that I need to do? And then you couple all of that with curiosity. Never be afraid to ask the question. Because one question truly changed my life completely. And we can get to that story, but never be afraid to ask the question. Ask the question. This is one simple question that a lot of us fear. All of us as men, we fear this question. You may fear it with your counterpart. You may fear it with your wife. You may fear it with your brother. It's the question of, can you help me? None of us, we let our egos restrict our cultivation because we're afraid to answer that one question or ask that one question. And that's why for me, I always ask, can you help me? Because I've never been afraid to ask for help. Can you help me? And that curiosity of the other side of life, it made me lower my ego and understand that I wanted to be cultivated, not motivated in the moment. And that's how that continues to grow.
I think that goes back to something I heard you say on another interview you were doing about digging deep.
Yeah.
You said when you're broke and faith is the only thing you have to rely on, you're gonna dig deep. And digging deep, I got to ask, when you made that transition from Syracuse into the NFL, how was that, and how deep did you have to dig to get yourself into the right frame of mind to be in the NFL?
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head about it was a mentality more than anything. I had to dig deep and find who Lou really was. The NFL exposed who Lou really was. I had a observation and I had a thoughts of who I thought I was, but I didn't know who I was until you get around grown men that this is their livelihood, that they take this very, very serious, that you can't come here and you can't be late to work because you know why? If you're late to work, that's costing everybody else around you, and that's costing them money. That's costing them food on their plates. That's costing them sending their kids to college. So I had to dig deep to find maturity. I had to find a certain level of maturity that a lot of us out of college, Division I athletes, we don't have that. College enables us to be reactive, right? So I was never proactive about reaching out and going in and saying, you know what, no, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna try to beat this guy right in front of me, right? You have that mentality, but subconsciously, if you're going against JJ Watt and you see that he's 6'5", 320 pounds, you got to dig very, very deep or your butt is going to be digged out a damn grave. I'll tell you that. And so you got to find ways to dig deep mentally because these guys are playing for their livelihood. And I had to find that. And I reached out to all my mentors, man. I reached out to old coaches. I reached out to veterans that's been in the game for a while. And I just wanted them to shape a growth mindset for me. I wanted to shape a growth mindset. You know, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaq, these guys weren't these players by being content with Shaq at LSU or Michael Jordan at North Carolina. They weren't that. They had to grow and have a growth mindset to know I have to acquire the skill set of leadership. I have to acquire the skill set of being the first one in, the last one to leave. I have to acquire the skill set of making sure that I am first in everything I do. And that's that level that you have to dig deep into, especially with football, because football is a barbaric sport. Let's just call it what it is, right? It is a sport that two men are having a car crash every single play. And if you run 100 plays of car crashes every single time, it's who taps first. Hey, who's going to get out of here? Who's tapped first? So there's another level of motivation you have to find. And that's why my career was so short-lived, because I hit college and I was content with that. Whoa. I was an All-American in college. I was good. I started 23 games. I was an academic All-American. I had the pretty girl. I did all these things, right? And then I got to the NFL and I said, what are you talking about? I made it already. what are you guys going to tell me that I don't already know? And then that's why it was so short-lived. And so digging deep, it happened momentarily, but I didn't have the longevity in the NFL because I didn't dig deep enough.
So that's interesting to me that it seems what I heard you say was you had almost similar experiences going from junior college to college and from college to the NFL.
Yep.
Right? With each step of your life to that point, you felt like you had made it.
Yep. Yep.
And so your NFL career ends and you're broke.
Yep.
You didn't make it.
Nope.
As it turned out.
Mm-mm.
Right? So talk about that transition. I have to believe that the transition from the NFL then back to now you've got to figure out a way to make a life for yourself. That had to be a different feeling. And so maybe just talk about that transition and then how you got into sales and what were some of those things you were going through when you made that transition away from the NFL then into the corporate world.
100%. So, excuse me, when I got out of the NFL, I was broke, like you just mentioned. I had $50 to my name. And all I knew is I wanted to make NFL money. Truthfully, I was motivated by the money more than anything. So I didn't care what discipline, what industry, whatever I did, I was just motivated by the money. And I called my girlfriend at the time, was my wife now, called my girlfriend and I said, hey, I'm going back to LA for probably 2 or 3 weeks. Would your mom and dad, would it be okay if I come out to Boston to live with you guys for a short period of time, just until I get on my feet? And I have to thank her so much because she went to bat for me. And she told her mom and dad, hey, my boyfriend, I don't know what he's going to do. He just got out of the NFL, but he's coming to live with us. You can only imagine a parent. I'm a parent now. You can only imagine what a parent will say to that. Wait, what? This guy that didn't make it from the NFL, now he's coming here and he don't have a job and all he has is $50 to his name? Okay, try again, right? And so we fast forward. I end up flying to Boston with $50 to my name. And we talk about curiosity previously. I get on a plane, and this is what changed my life completely. There was a gentleman that was walking down the aisle, and he was suited and booted, man. He had the Windsor knot tie. He was draped 3-piece. He had a Rolex watch. And for me, where I'm coming from, I'm thinking everyone's rich with a Rolex, right? And so he had the Rolex watch. He had shoes that would shine. This guy was your prototypical guy that you would want to have be a mentor, or you would want to base your life over him. He was everything. So the guy comes sit down. Now, granted, I'm 340 at the time. I'm at a window seat. So I'm like this because all I can afford was a window seat, right? And he comes and sit in the middle. And so he opens his computer and he's typing away. And I see him working on some type of report. It looks like a board report, whole bunch of numbers, things that just look like a total different language to me. And I just asked him, I leaned over and I said, hey, can you just express to me, like, what are you working on? And he's like, oh, well, hey, I'm in tech sales and, we do A, B, or C, right? He started going into what his role was. He sat on the advisory board and he helped drive revenue he was contracted out to drive revenue for all these different individual companies to help them hit acquisition or IPO. And so I was like, wow, so how did you get into it? Curiosity. Take me through the steps. Can you just walk me through how you got into it? Now, granted, I didn't have the motive of wanting anything out of this man. I didn't want a job. I didn't want money. I just wanted you to tell me what you've been doing because it just looks interesting, right? And again, my circumstances, it teaches you awareness. Be aware of what's around you. If you don't know, ask about it. And so I asked the guy and he walked me through, okay, hey, I'm going through a board report. This is what I do, A, B, or C. So we get off the plane. He gives me his card. He said, kid, I like you. He goes, plane said, I like you. Call me anytime, and we can have a conversation. So I let it go by 2 weeks. I didn't call the guy. And I get on the phone with him. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm about to have a job. I'm about to have a job. This is what I'm telling my girlfriend. I'm about to have a job. Are you like, can you imagine? She's about to get a job. 2 weeks. She's like, okay. So I call the guy. And he picks up the phone. He said, hey. I said, hey, this is Lou Alexander. I met you on the plane. He said, yeah, I remember you. He said, hey, let's meet down at this coffee shop in Newton. I want to talk to you about something. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting the damn job. I go down to the coffee shop and it's brutal winter. It's cold. I have one pair of boots to my name, right? One pair of boots to my dang name. I am freezing, right? Again, still no money. So I'm like, I hope this guy the whole way there, I hope he doesn't ask me to pay for lunch. Please, man, because I can't afford it. So I hope you don't pay for lunch. My balance is already negative, dude. You're going to put me negative, right, after this. So we get there and we sit down. He said, hey, I want to introduce you to a job opportunity, but it's not doing what I'm doing. So I'm like, you're telling me I'm not going to have a Rolex? Like, what do you mean it's not doing what I'm doing? And he's like, no, I want you to go knock on doors.
Oh.
I want you to start at door-to-door salesman. So think about that. Ex-NFL player go knock on doors to sell roof and windows to a community where no one in the community looks like me. So you have a 6'4", 340-pound guy knock on your door. You let me know if you answer. Right? I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't even answer the door for myself. Right? So I get there and he's like, yeah, this is what I want you to do. You're going to work for Power Home Remodeling Group. So I sold roof and windows. And I did that with every ounce in my body, man. I didn't take not one day off. I became the #1 salesperson to sell argon gas windows and to sell architectural shingle roofs. And I became #1 in my whole entire division. And after that, I developed the sales acumen. I developed the business acumen. And then I started to line myself with tech. And I got into it as an SDR, sales development representative, which I started to make cold calls and I was just setting appointments for people. And I became the best at that. And not until I became an SDR is when I finally said to myself, I am taking this serious. Every single thing I do, I am taking this serious. Not until I was an SDR, working for someone else. And when I got there, they promoted me in 8 months to a full account executive. And in the first year, I brought in $2.3 million to the sales organization. And I drove revenue. We went public. They sold off the company. Leadership change. I went on and I found another gig and I started to be in strategic partnerships. And then once I got into strategic partnerships, I thrived at that. I was managing some of our top tier accounts in this world. I was, again, being authentic. People just loved me because I was who I was. I put the shield down of you have to be a certain type of way in corporate. I dismantled that. Hey, man, I'm a guy with tattoos from the inner city, but you know what? I'm educated. And I know that I'm valuable to you. And I know the value that I'm going to bring to you is going to help you in your individual contributor role. So let me provide you value. And that's where that transition started to escalate, man. And after that, it went off like a rocket ship. I started to understand the mechanics of the launch pad. I started to understand what was underneath it. And then that's what propelled me. And now there's not a disclaimer of saying caution. It's, hey, Lou, you're riding. And I got promoted into sales leadership 3 years ago. And I took over a team because I was a great salesperson, but leadership was my best attribute. And I haven't looked back then. And I'm on my way to being a vice president of sales pretty soon.
That's incredible. You're an inspiration to anybody listening to this, and I love everything that you're about. I am so looking forward to getting into Big Ass Jogger and finding out more about your speaking business and getting more into this idea of authenticity and impact. But before we get there, Ben,
yeah,
you look a little thirsty.
I am thirsty.
I knew it. Join us next week for part 2 of this episode. You can be sure we'll be talking more business and drinking more beer. Business Over Beer reminds you to always drink responsibly. Our theme song is Idiocracy by Christian Leo. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Business Over Beer, a TH3 Entertainment production.